If you ever go back to binge watch an all-time great show, there's something really interesting you can pay attention to, which is, can you spot the point when the show became a monster hit? And can you spot how it affected the show creatively? For example, with Game of Thrones, people of course talk about how the show wasn't as good once it deviated from the books. But I thought it was just as significant that at one point you can tell the show got a giant increase in budget and started to emphasize these huge, expensive battle scenes rather than the interpersonal drama and a lot of the political gamesmanship that you saw in the first couple of seasons. But Breaking Bad, the original binge watch show, is a great example of this. If you weren't aware of the history, for the first few seasons of the show on AMC, it had very low ratings. But before season 4 came out, the previous 3 seasons were put onto Netflix. And it became the original binge watch drama. I think that was the first time I ever heard that term, was people talking about Breaking Bad around the year 2010. It built up an audience there, it started to grow, and then by the final season, season 5, it was a cultural phenomenon. At that point, you could dress like this for Halloween and people knew who you were. But then a very curious thing happened in the finale. See, this was always a show about a man who was doomed. He was going off of a cliff. It was about somebody who had a very bad idea, that is to try to pay his medical bills by selling meth, and that unleashed a monster that was always inside of him, a narcissism and a selfishness. It was supposed to be like Scarface. It was about the rise and fall of an empire. And in the last couple of episodes prior to the finale, they really did seem to be nailing that. This was a tragedy, and he had ruined everyone around him, his family, his one friend. But then in the final episode, which a lot of fans loved at the time, he gets such a happy ending that it comes off like fan fiction. He gets to keep a bunch of the money he made from his criminal empire and pass it on to his family. He gets to redeem himself by taking out an even worse group of bad guys and rescuing Jesse. He gets to show that he is, in fact, the smartest criminal mastermind in history. He just runs circles around everybody. And in the end, he gets to go out on his own terms. He goes out exactly how he would have planned it. Because the sad, tragic, quiet ending is totally fine if your show is at this level of popularity. But if your character has become such a pop culture phenomenon, such an icon that people have posters of him in their dorm rooms, then there is intense pressure to give those people, these people, what they want. Characters that become fan favorites just get treated differently. Side note, some of us call this the Urkel effect.